Welcome to the What Drives You podcast. Brought to you from Motorvation Car Club HQ, we will explore the journeys of successful individuals from a variety of industries. Our mission is to pass on knowledge and experience from people further ahead in the journeys and uncover the stories behind the successes and failures. This will provide valuable insights and inspiration to help you. In each episode, we'll dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests, discussing the motivations, the challenges, and the pivotal moments that have shaped their careers. We'll explore the driving forces behind their achievements, uncovering the lessons they've learned along the way, and the advice they would give to aspiring entrepreneurs and professionals. From business leaders, sporting professionals, and creative visionaries, our guests will share a unique perspective on what it takes to allow you to achieve your goals as fast as possible. Join us as we embark on this exciting journey, discovering the passions and motivations that drive some of the most influential figures in their respective fields. So buckle up and get ready to be inspired. Welcome to the What Drives You podcast. Today I am speaking with Iain Hutchison, a successful Scottish businessman and founder of Merlin ERD, which is a world-leading business in its sector. You gained an honours degree in mechanical engineering before joining the oil industry in Aberdeen. You have worked around the world from Africa, Australia to the United States, and you've gained your chartered status with the Institution of Mechanical Engineers along the way, and you were recently made a fellow of this prestigious organisation. You returned to Scotland with your family in 2007 and founded Merlin, building the business into the go-to technical resource for horizontal extended reach and complex well drilling. You led Merlin to being awarded 2 Queen's Awards for Enterprise, presented to you from Her Majesty the Queen at Buckingham Palace. The business has also won various other awards, as well as being commissioned by the national governments to report on advanced drilling technologies. Highly regarded in your field, you were asked to author key sections of the Bible of the industry's manual for drilling, and you spearheaded in 2017 the transition of Merlin into employee ownership and have since exited the business. Alongside your professional career, you have raised a family with wife Debbie and have been active and supported local organisations, from them being an ambassador of SCA, Scotland's charity air ambulance, as well as being a supporter for the Invest in Perth initiative. You're holder of a pilot's licence, built a Spitfire replica, which you now display, supported the Bloodhound supersonic car at 1,000 miles per hour land speed record, recently qualified as a flying instructor and joined the Board of Governors at one of Scotland's leading independent schools, Strathallan at Forgandenny. Iain Hutchison, welcome to the What Drives You podcast.
Hey, great. Well, thanks, Lee. That's good. Shall we just stop there? That's great. And see if you can pick out any mistakes or lies.
There's a lot to cover in that, and it took a bit of effort just to get it down to that summary.
I feel old just with you reading it.
I wrote this out a few times, and I was concerned I was just going to butcher all the key points. So the thing that I normally like to do is welcome people to Motorvation HQ, but obviously on this occasion it's going to feel a little bit odd welcoming you to your own home. Yeah. So thank you for hosting, really appreciate it. And fantastic view across the city, very impressive. But we can touch on that later on. I'm sure the building your house was a journey also.
Oh yeah.
Can you give us a short summary of what Merlin did?
So Merlin drilled the longest oil and gas, and still drills the longest oil and gas wells in the world. Now I'm doing a bit more in geothermal, they're still in oil and gas. So if you have an oil platform or an asset and reserves that are up to 10 or 15 kilometres away, you can drill a well from that asset and tap into the reserves. So in the North Sea, particularly useful for accessing and exploiting stranded reserves. Okay. So there's maybe a bit of oil in the periphery of a reservoir, maybe a smaller reservoir, uneconomic on its own. So it really is, it's the state-of-the-art drilling, it's the top-notch, you know, it's really the engineering, there's no second prize. If you get it wrong, you're going to spend millions and millions of pounds and dollars, so it has to be right.
Okay.
You know, and it's great, and our success came from just a methodology that we developed where we got the engineering right. So that's a bit sort of blasé saying that, but we got the engineering right, so we had support and we knew that the engineering we had was objective and we could support what we were doing. And then just as important as getting the engineering in these big wells right is getting the people right. And that's not necessarily just getting the right individuals, it's getting their hearts and minds. So some of the times we're going out and drilling these wells and we're doing things slightly differently or sometimes quite differently to what people are used to.
Okay.
So you're going out and speaking with, you know, long career people that maybe 40 years in drilling, and we're going to say, oh yeah, 40 years, yeah, we're going to do this slightly different. So you've got to be careful how you've got to bring them with you. And the people factor is as important as the engineering and the success. Okay. We could have the best engineering, everything sorted, and Tom or Wendy or whoever's on the rig floor that decides they'll do it their way, or one of the bosses, which sometimes happened, and then the whole thing goes to hell in a handcart. So you've got to win the hearts and minds. So we developed a way to do that. And then our third thing, which is like a sort of three-legged stool or wheel or circle of success almost, we would put people on the rig to help with the implementation so that there was a first stop technical help. And the methodology, it's like an aviation approach to risk management. What's the problem? What are we looking to do? How are we going to do it? And you can apply that to life. So
yeah, even like a small production like we're doing today is very much a team effort.
Very much. So you guys very professional, the setup, the preparation. People see the podcast, they don't see the hours and days of effort that goes in behind. Exactly the same in drilling a complex well. Weeks, months, years at times of preparation to go and drill this well. And what we're doing is we're working hard for things not to happen.
Okay.
We're working hard not to get stuck when we're drilling. We're working hard not to have issues, not to miss bits of equipment, not to fail bits of equipment. So lots of the preparation you do won't actually be seen or come to fruition. A bit like a duck swimming across a pond. And it's the same in engineering in cars. It's the same in building a business. You know, people see, oh, Sheila's been hugely successful in her business. Look, and she's retired and she's a multi-millionaire. She goes to the Caribbean. Wow, God, that's great. And what they haven't seen are the sleepless nights and the challenges and the missed birthdays and the trauma.
Well, I'm keen to come on to that because the purpose of the What Drives You podcast isn't just about the journey. It's also about the sacrifice. So we can come on to that later. Yeah. Can we flash back briefly to the kind of the earlier days?
Yeah.
And when you were growing up, were you aware of any entrepreneurs? Were you fermenting the business plan? Or were you just a normal kid who went to school and that was your lot?
So what we remember and what's accurate is very different, as we saw in engineering when we're doing things. The way people remembered, oh, we've drilled here before. Oh, really? And so you probably have to ask my parents, but
okay.
To check or corroborate. No, I didn't have any close entrepreneurial friends.
Okay.
Or entrepreneurs or mentors or people in my life that were mentors. But what I did have is a drive where I had no money and I wanted money because I had an old motorbike that needed petrol, and the only way to get that was going and do some work in the farmer's fields, picking daffodils or strawberries or potatoes or whatever it was. And in the summer, we had half a dozen gooseberry bushes. So myself and some friends, we picked the gooseberries from my mum's gooseberry bushes and we took them to the local shop. And small village, hugely encouraging, which is great. You just never know when your word of encouragement might inspire. Mm-hmm. And we asked, can we sell these here? And they took it in. Yeah, of course you can, boys. So he took them in and he sold all our gooseberries for us and we got the money. Brilliant. So that was our sort of first introduction. Go, all right, pick these, sell them. That's great. Get money. Turn it into petrol, off we go on our motorbikes till they break down.
And there's zero cost really to the person that's helped you there to facilitate that.
Bit of grief from my mother.
Right.
Next time we asked her.
Fair enough. So how did you decide what further education and career path you wanted to pursue?
Oh, that's a great question. It's awful. My heart goes out. 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know, you know.
You say that.
Yeah.
I had a friend, right, who's a wildly successful architect now in London, running his own practice.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in early days, really, really early days,
Yeah.
and he was just laser focused that he just wanted to be an architect.
Oh, really?
And then he became an architect, and now he's doing great.
That's great. That's great.
And I was
You can
actually
hug
quite
that.
envious of that. I'm sure you sound like you're the same.
Yeah. So I had what do you want to do? I've got no idea. And I had an old motorcycle I used to tinker with. And I was amazed when I took it apart, put it back together, and then it started and ran. And I was like, wow. And so I thought engineering, I'll just do engineering, which isn't necessarily the right thing. And the problem solving, yes, engineering. So I went and studied engineering. I also chose engineering because it closed the fewest doors. You can study engineering and you can go on and be a management accountant. You can study engineering and go and do law. You can study engineering and go and join the police, the armed forces and stuff like that. So it really is, it's a great degree to have.
Yeah, so it's problem solving at its heart, isn't it?
Problem solving, huh?
So you didn't have a passion, you kind of stumbled across it then. Is that safe to say?
That's fair. Yeah.
Did you have any doubts when you embarked on the engineering journey that, oh, actually I should be changing and transitioning, as people sometimes do? They get so far into a degree and they think, oh, this isn't for me. They want to move.
I wasn't a happy student from the point of all the hours I had to do. So you're studying engineering, you've got a full week of lectures, then you're in the library, then you're collaborating on team projects, and friends that were studying other subjects that will remain nameless, the arts, did like 5 hours a week and spent all the money, and they were in the pub all the time. So I wasn't a great academic, and I struggled through a degree, but got there in the end. And it was a lot of encouragement from family. So my family encouraged me to go and do that. But one in particular, my uncle, who's no longer with us, sadly, he says, get an engineering degree and you'll never want. This is basically, he says, get an engineering degree. He says, you'll be set, you'll always have a job. And that was important to me. I was getting an engineering degree to go and get a job so that if I was fortunate to have a family, I could support them. Yeah.
So people out there right now trying to think, what am I going to study? What's my career path?
Yeah.
Engineering provided a platform with options for
you.
Yeah,
it did. Yeah.
They should potentially be looking at courses or things that, if they're not 100% convinced it's for them, think, actually, what do you maybe enjoy? If it's the tinkering of the motorbike to what degree you're picking, there's a bit of relative in the kind of the ethos there of you want to problem solve.
Yeah, I'm interested in engineering and cars and motors and things like that. It fascinates me and it's great. But the engineering that I studied was teaching me how to approach problem solving rather than what I did. And yeah, for the youngsters or for other people that are thinking about a career change, what do you enjoy? You know, you're a long time dead. Do what you enjoy. As long as you can feed yourself and get a roof over your head. As I told my kids, I say, you guys do what you want. You want to be a beach bum, that's fine. I say, but as long as you can do it standing on your own 2 feet, I say, that's great. You know, we don't have any preconceptions. It's about do what you want. If you want to go out and get a nice car, that you're going to have to go and get a good job or chat Lee up.
Yeah. So you finished your degree and you went off to work in the oil sector in Aberdeen.
Yes.
What did your journey as an employee look like?
So it's a long bus ride to Aberdeen, and it still is. So I went to Aberdeen. The last place on earth I wanted to go when I graduated was Aberdeen, because I grew up within 30 miles of Aberdeen, and I wanted to spread my wings and see the world. But
you studied in Edinburgh, yeah?
Studied in Edinburgh,
Okay,
Walk.
so you've done that. Great. You went and spread your wings.
So, well, no, the best job offers, and I got several job offers in Aberdeen, and they were all drilling, because there's a particular character profile which I fit that goes into drilling. It's red, it's decisive. And so I ended up in Aberdeen. I reckoned, well, I can work in Aberdeen for a few years, and then I'll get the opportunity to go abroad.
Okay. And you did that. You've obviously seen a lot of the world.
Yeah,
with your career path.
So whilst working in Aberdeen, I got a job in the UK, and I left the oil company and went consulting in 1996.
Okay,
which is a long time ago now. And so I consulted in the Ukraine, and I was very young to go as a consultant. But the reason I got that job is because prior to that, we'd driven, when the wall came down, the east-west sort of wall, we drove to Moscow and then down to the Black Sea and then back from Aberdeen as a holiday. We thought it would be a great idea.
Yeah.
And ate out on the stories for months, if not years after it. It was just extreme. And because I've been to the Ukraine, the people that were looking for someone, British Oil Company, all right, we'll give Hutchison a go. And that was great. That was my start of my consulting career.
So you must have had a decent level of responsibility if you're on the young side in your way, working abroad and consulting, particularly working in that sector. How did you deal with that?
You just get on with it. You're less well supported as a consultant independently, but in the team on the rig, you're pretty well supported. And what you lack in skills and experience, make up for in enthusiasm. So if you get something wrong in a report, fix it. You know, and don't take two requests to fix it. If you hand in something that's not what it is, find out why it's wrong and then go and fix it. And I've had that feedback when I was younger, where one of my bosses said, "Yeah, Iain, we're not worried about you because when you stuff things up, you go and fix it." And I had loads of stuff ups. So there was quite a lot of fixing. And if you're up late fixing it, who cares? It's you're there, you're paid to do a job and deliver.
You sound like a guy who could handle a bit of criticism and feedback.
Yeah, I'm fairly thick-skinned. I've got all our standard insecurities, imposter syndrome. Like, wow, will they ever find me out? So am I really up to this job? What am I doing? That type of thing. Am I good enough to do it? But I'm old enough now where you think, well, it's worked before. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay, so it just comes through time.
It helps.
Yes,
helps a lot. Yeah.
So can we focus in on when you started Merlin? And how old were you? And what did your personal life look like?
Oh no, how old was I? No idea. 2007, 38. Yeah, that'd be right, 38. So we'd just arrived back from Australia. I'd been consulting in drilling engineering for 11 years. I was doing some consulting in Holland and I was back and forth from Perth to Holland. We'd chosen Perth to live because it's such a great area. It's fantastic. The countryside round about is just such a great city, accessible to Edinburgh, Glasgow, international airports, hub airports. And and we decided, we thought, okay, we'll see if we can build a business. And the reason I started it is I didn't want to die wondering. That's the bottom line. I didn't want to die wondering, could I build a genuine company? So I'd been consulting for 11 years. That's just an employee that they can fire a minute's notice, and it's flexibility for the oil companies and things, and anyone that consults, it's fine. But it's not like the same as building a business, having premises, staff, and all that. So I didn't want to die wondering.
Okay. What did did you have family at the time?
Yeah. So married with Debbie, 2 boys, and a newly arrived daughter, Amelia. And it was, we'll give it a go and see how it works. And the fallback plan was, if that doesn't work, I'll go back consulting and I'll have to commute up and down to Aberdeen, which would be a bit of a pain. But
okay. So what did if you just relocated, what did your support structure look like in Perth then?
So the support structure in Perth is good. My parents live just outside Perth. I grew up in the northeast, right, from Fife originally. Don't tell anyone. But they live outside Perth. My wife's parents live in Carnoustie, so Perth's a great location for us. And with the airport as well, it's good for flying. But don't tell anyone. And then it's accessible to Aberdeen as well for industry. So we're there. We bought a townhouse in the centre of Perth to come back to from Australia, so we bought it over the internet. Oh, a townhouse, have that, ping, ping, and not quite, but something like that. And the idea of that was, we've been very good, my wife and I are very good at making the big decisions so far. We make them together, we talk about what are we trying to do, what's the pluses, the minuses, and then we sort and argue over what's down to, and then we do what she wants. And the townhouse, the idea was, it's in the centre of town, it's a modern building, shouldn't have a lot of maintenance. If I was away with business, which was very likely, and there was a crisis with the family, she could take the kids together, duct tape them to the pram, and just get on a train to her parents or my parents. Okay. Would come down. So we're a good support structure.
So it was well thought out. That's your engineering. skill set coming out again.
I think so, and it worked, and we adjusted it. You don't make one plan and then that's what you do. You adjust it as you go along. What's working, what's not, how can we do it better, what have we stuffed up this week, that sort of thing. We didn't have that support network in Australia. Couldn't have built this business in Australia.
Couldn't have?
No, couldn't have built the business we built because we needed to be accessible to the market. No one knew of us. When we lived in Perth, Australia, it's 10 hours from everywhere, apart from Sydney, that's only 5 hours
right.
in a plane.
It's pretty isolating.
It's pretty isolating. Yeah.
Why the name Merlin?
Oh yeah, so we've gone through so many things about, we'll name a company, all right, and you go, right, what name do you want? So it's really hard naming a business. So I found it really hard, really challenging. So again, we wrote down, what do we want? So you want a name that's short. You want a name that's memorable, I think, because people have to be able to spell it, they have to remember it, because you want them to phone you. You don't want it to mean bottom in some foreign language either. So it has to be something that's international if you're in the international space. So Merlin, nice and short, we could spell it. And then what we wanted to do was, because no one had heard of us, we wanted to do what it says on the tin. So that's where the Merlin ERD comes, Merlin Extended Reach Drum. And it's great. The other thing is, we wanted it to bring people thoughts. So Merlin conjures up the wizard, and that's what we do. We work wizardry on problems and drilling things and technical solutions, and still do, more in renewables now for me. And also there's a great link to the Spitfire. So the World War II fighter aircraft in the UK, the Rolls-Royce engine, the first one was called the Merlin. Okay. So what we did is we deliberately built on that British engineering heritage, and we played on that in the early days as well. We really pushed it.
So you've named the business, you just started the business. There's going to be a bit of risk involved because you've got a family, you've relocated. So the stakes, although you've seen you've got a backup plan for consultancy, the stakes are like moderately high.
Yeah.
A little bit of pressure on you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the greatest pressure I felt in finances and supporting the business. So we never carried any debt, right? So at some point we'll talk about, Iain, what would you do differently? And I'll forget about this, so we'll mention it. So I always wonder, if we took on debt, would it have helped us to grow faster? We had phenomenal growth. We had absolutely phenomenal growth. We exceeded 25% a year for 8 years after we turned over $1 million. If someone says they've made 100% growth, they've gone from £1 to £2, that's unimpressive. When you go from $1 million, 25% a year on average for 8 years, that's phenomenal. And we had a downturn in the middle of that where we dropped back. So some years we were doubling every year at the million state. So I always look and think, how would we go faster? What could we have done? And it's, I don't know, could we have taken debt? We looked at debt at one point, but we didn't take it. But fear, one of the things that really sort of, I can still to this day taste it a little bit. When I took on our first office, so I started the business on our kitchen table, me, laptop, kitchen table, and then I put a desk in the garage, and then Debbie would come, my wife Debbie would come in and say, look, I'm just going to, can you mind the kids? I would say, no, I'm at work. You're sitting in the garage. Look, I'm going to the shops. Oh, okay, something right, I need out here. So we took on an office, and when I signed up the office, it was a 5-year lease at £2,000 a year. And I thought, Chings, if I don't make a success of this, not only am I not going to be able to feed the family, I'm going to take on debt when we don't have money to cover that. So that was a real sort of like, oh God, what would I do? And I think to help businesses these days, if we have starter offices and things like that, things where businesses can come in and there's not that 4 years of debt hanging over them, so that people can give it a go, and then you're in a position to take gambles. And
some people are great at just sidelining all of that. They'd sign up a 4-year lease and it would not faze them whatsoever, but then the majority, I would say, would think, well, I'm on the hook here, and that would maybe detract a little bit of energy from focus on the business as opposed to like the risk, that what's the worst case scenario.
Yep.
And I'm a great believer, if you keep thinking about this might not be good or this could potentially end well, there's maybe a more of a likelihood it could end that way.
Yeah, I'm I understand that. I'm slightly different. Whenever I'm flying, so I'm flying a plane that I built with a lot of help.
The hairs on the back of my neck immediately stand up when you say that.
I'm always looking for a place to land if the engine stops, right? All the time I'm going, right, where are we? Which direction's the wind blowing there? Go, okay, right, oh, there's some fields, that's fine. Where am I navigating? What's happening? I'm always, if something goes wrong, what am I going to do? And one of my friends said, oh, God, that's really pessimistic. And I thought about that quite a lot. And I went away and I thought, is that pessimistic? I thought, because I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist. And I believe, but I'm a bit realist. And I thought, no, it's not pessimistic. It's taking the precautions, it's practicing forced landings, you're getting ready for it. So it's understanding what could go wrong. And that, I think that comes back to, I was told, don't look at what you can win or gain, look at what you can lose. So if you put the Farm on red 19 and it comes up black 18, you've lost everything. If you put a little bit on red 19 and you're taking a wee bit of gamble and stuff, then that's, and it doesn't come in, it's not a life-changing consequence. So sometimes you have to be brave, but you have to look into, okay, if it all goes wrong, how will we restart? Where will we go? And that's been an approach all the way through my business journey.
The growth, obviously, past the 1 million interests me, but like how was it feeling in very early days? You're sat in the garage, Davey's chucking the kids on you. Did you ever think that was going to be the case? That you would get to that, or
the garage and the kids aren't fair, Davey. I've been for a bit of grief here, but justly so. But the garage was a short period, and I had a contract with Shell in Holland, and I didn't just dive into the business. I was doing some consulting, and then we sort of moved over a little bit in parallel. There were two running, so both horses were running at the same time. And I think there was some great advice from Brian Suter. He said, like, why would you ever just throw in the towel and start a new business? Unless you find yourself in a position where fate has given you that opportunity, because it's really hard. It's terrifying to make that. It's, okay, I'm going to throw in a good job and start my own business. Oh my goodness, that must just be so terrifying. We had relocated from the other side of the world, so I didn't have a job. So we had that natural decision point, and we're very lucky we did, because would I have done it without that? Oh, it would have been harder, you know. So, you know, and the nagging doubts. Why are you throwing in a good, well-paid oil company engineering job to start your own uncertain journey? Yeah. Oh my goodness, those people that do that are much braver than me.
So there's got to be a little bit of advice there you can sprinkle on people that are at that stage now, maybe starting the business and stuff. At your point, looking back, if the business is in that infancy, how much of a structure and plan did you have? And did you have a vision that it was going to turn into Merlin? Or was it just, I'm going to play the consultancy, I'm going to start my own gig, back both horses, and see what comes out of it?
So the consultancy we were doing to make a bit of money, and I tried not to do it. Someone came and got me, and they wanted me to do a job, and I promised I wouldn't do any work for a number of months after our daughter was born, because we'd been really busy around the world and consulting. And I promised that I'd be there, because for the first, my boys, I was basically at work the day after they were born, sort of thing, you know. So I'd say my wife would be here, and so advice, test your idea. You know, or look at the consequences. If there's no consequences of it going wrong, it's fine. But if there's consequences of it going wrong, not being able to feed debt, test your idea. Do a job. Work 2 jobs. Hey, so, you know, if that's what it takes, you know, that's what it takes. You know, but oh my goodness, be very careful about just throwing in a job to start something. You know, maybe it's for you. Yeah. I probably wouldn't do it that way.
So did you have any mentors early days in the business?
Yeah. So I've had loads of mentors all the way through, and principally mentors are free. Non-exec directors you have to pay for, and the advice is the same, and sometimes a bit better with mentors actually, in my experience. So the one chap in particular that I got through the Chamber of Commerce, Fife Chamber of Commerce, and he was particularly good and challenging, and a couple of things that come to mind. There's one time when he came in, we ran through the business, and he goes, are you serious about this business, or is it lifestyle? And I knew exactly what he meant. You know, are we going for growth, or are we going for just make some money and enjoy ourselves, sort of thing? And I said, let me check. I said, I'm going to speak with Debbie. So we had one of our commerce discussions, what do we think? And I said, look, I reckon this business has got legs. I say, and I reckon we should go for growth. I say, but it's not my decision because it's going to influence our family life hugely. I say, so what do you think? And my wife, give her a due, she goes, what do you want to do? And I say, well, I want to go for growth. I say, but what that means is I might be around the other side of the world for months at a time, or a month, or many weeks at a time. I say, we've got 3 young children, so it's not just about me. Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, let's give it a go. So I went back to the mentor, and I said, we're going for growth. I say, so we're going to light the blue touch paper. I say, you better be hanging on. And we did that a few times, because business isn't one start growth curve. It's a ramp. There's different stages and different challenges and successes and setups and things. So we did that. Went for growth a few times like that. So one of the things with mentors and support in general is the success that we've enjoyed, or the business enjoys, has all come from the advice I've got. And I've had countless numbers of mentors, even just friends offering a word of advice, friends giving me a bit of grief, people I've met at business meetings, and seeking that challenge. So you've got to spend the majority of your time on what's adding value to your business. But then sometimes you look at going to these business meetings as not earning money of things, but actually it's working on the business, not in the business. So I used to go to a Scottish Enterprise event or a Business Gateway or some other business event, and I would try to do one a month. And invariably, when I set off to go on it, I would think, God, I haven't got time to do this. I've got that report to do. How am I going to? And I would go. And more than half the time I came back, I thought, thank goodness I went to that. A quarter of the time I think that was an absolute waste of time. Who's that joker? How did they get him or her up there? Sort of thing. And then another quarter of the time I'd come back a little bit ambivalent. But half the time they were useful, and I got a little challenge. It also got me out of the office and into a different headspace, which is really important, and you don't often realise at the time. And these people, comments that I got from them, they were all, so I'd go and ask people, if I enjoyed what the speaker said or I liked their message, I'd go and say, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm going, have you got any advice, or what would you do? I'm concerned about this. And they would say, okay, do that. And I'd managed to follow it up sometimes. That if I'd followed it up more assiduously, then I would have had better results, undoubtedly. But I'm human, far from perfect in that. So yeah, so mentors all the way through, and loads of people. And very fortunate, one of my very good friends, a chap Mark Dixon, we studied engineering together, and he went away and did an MBA. And his advice, he's just fabulous. So in the early days, if I've got some advice for people, equity is sacrosanct, right? Hold on to equity, because when your business is worth nothing, you can give it away and you use that to get, because you don't have the income and things like that. Be very careful about giving equity away. You want to release equity for value, but in the early days, not at all would be my advice. And then that's the challenge. So people go, not at all, make you think twice. In later days, yeah, no one runs a multi-billion pound or dollar business and owns 100% of it that I'm aware of, or very few. They've all got shareholders, when they go to scale.
Okay. That's I'll take that on my own journey as well then.
Yeah.
What was the USP, the unique selling point of Merlin?
We would add more value than people could comprehend and sometimes identify. So if you get Merlin involved, the project's going to go better. You're going to get the
results that you're looking for.
You're going to get the product down the pipeline quicker. So you're going to be making money quicker, you're going to have less problems, and your team are going to learn. And if that's not the case, we don't want to be involved. I don't want to be involved where we're charging people and not adding value. So what we are is we're independent. We don't want to work with companies that we don't add value in, and the same is true today. I don't want to work, if it's not adding value for people, I don't want them. We're not there just to take the money, because that won't add to our growth. It might do us for the day, but that's not how we're going to grow. We want to grow, build a relationship, people talk positively about us. And our performance was just phenomenal. That when people go drilling, they often have problems and they get the drill bit stuck and stuff like that. That didn't happen at Merlin. I think eventually with a client problem that I said, look, let's use that as an excuse. We'll say we've taken a hit, so that it was a little bit more believable. The performance we were getting, my peers wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't believe that we wouldn't get stuck and that. And I said, no. And we weren't drilling simple, normal development wells. We were drilling world record wells at speeds faster than they thought was possible. And it was all about get the engineering right, set out the roadmaps, get the hearts and minds of the people right, so they know they can ask questions and they know that they can get feedback and where are we going here and challenge, and then put the technical advice on the rig at the right time to share that knowledge. And what we said is we're training ourselves out a job. So we would charge drilling engineering consultancy rates plus, you know. And what I would say to the client, I say, look, our cost is insignificant compared to gain. And if you don't see that or that's not the case, we shouldn't be near you. We're training ourselves out a job. We're going to pass that on to you. And then what would happen is we would train them. They would get more confident that, right, we want to drill a bigger well. So they'll get us in to do another world record type thing.
It sounds like you were quite a transparent company then. Like very collaborative with the client.
Yeah, tried to be.
Yeah.
Try to be.
That would was that the norm in your sector? Like maybe competitors or rivals?
It varies quite a lot. You know, everybody thinks they're getting stitched up all the time. So there's only a small percentage of the clients that are truly collaborative, and others think they're getting stitched up or you've been forced on them. And sometimes we'd go into clients, so the engineering manager would bring us in, and the operations manager would go, what are these guys? I'm paying for them on my rig. And he would get a bit of grief and friction and stuff. And we'd drill the first well with them, and things would go better than they went normally. And he'd go, oh, okay, well, they've been lucky. And then we'd drill the second well, and it would go better than things had gone. And these people are bright, you know, so even though they're cynics and things, which they're paid to be, it's like, not sure this. You know,
that's an engineering mindset, isn't it?
That's an engineering mindset. You know, and so we're dealing with engineers, it's a drama, they're such prima donnas. I can say that, you know. So the second well would go well. So this guy or girl going, maybe there's something in this. And then by the time the third well goes on, they're like a reformed smoker. They can't get enough of it. You know, we need this is going to happen. So then what we're doing is we're putting the brakes on to save them changing things, multiple things all at once and stuff. So that, when you got to that, it was challenging at the start, people, but when you got through to that and you saw people mindset changing and want to do things differently, that was just great. We got a lot out of that, helping make people better, unlocking their potential. That's what we were doing.
So was Merlin a business or was it a brand?
So we commercial business building a brand. So you're not a brand on day one. You become a brand. You know, so you build your brand, and you have to be fairly strict on what you're doing there. You know, the devil's in the detail. You're looking for people that are intellectually inquisitive, and they understand. It might be a pain in the neck for some of the things we're doing, but they understand why we're doing that. So if we're at a business meeting and there's three of us, all our business cards have to be the same format. Otherwise, we look like amateurs. You know, when we're sending emails, all our email footers need to be the same format. Otherwise, we look like amateurs. Our branding from email to report to website to presentations has to be the same, or we look like amateurs. You know, so you're looking to be the best you can. And the number, you know, and we got it wrong continually, and still do. But we don't feel bad about it. We recognise it, and we just say, yeah, okay, let's get it fixed. Let's fix this. And then service levels. So have you ever phoned someone and been on hold forever?
Yes.
How did you feel?
Undervalued.
So if I'm trying to sell you something, or you're paying me for something, and I put you on hold, or you can't get me, and you've got a problem that's maybe costing you millions of dollars a day, and you can't get hold of me, what are you going to think of our business?
Yeah, there's going to be a process of frustration that's going to have a climax.
So, and if there's an easy competitor to go to, you'll go to them.
Yeah.
So you know, that's quite easy to share with people. So what we'll say is, okay, we want to be accessible. We want to help our clients. They're going to phone. They're going to have problems. So understand what they're doing sometimes. So we had a thing in the office: answer the phone within 3 rings. So we did. So we would answer the phone. Everybody knew, and they knew why we did it, and they believed it. And was it a pain sometimes? Yeah, of course it was. And was it a pain if you turned up with the wrong branded business card? Yeah, of course it was. But did you see that where it was? Well, I hope so. But then there's always unintended consequences. So there's one day I was in the office and the phone was ringing, and the secretary's sprinting across the office to answer it within 3 rings. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, right, we need to have a chat.
Need to risk assess this.
So I go and get the set. I said, look, yeah, three rings. I said, that's good. But I said, but if you're at the other side of the office and you run across and you break your leg, I say, that's not going to be good. I say, so yeah, it's okay for it to ring 4 or 5, but if we're getting it most of the time, if we're getting it right, so.
We enjoyed a nice kind of growth 2 or 3 years in one of our previous businesses where we would just go about taking the poor customer service that other people were given and using that to our advantage.
Yeah.
So it'd be jobs half done,
yeah,
disputes on jobs,
yeah,
and we would structure the way we would finish the job. We would liaise with the client,
yeah.
And it was actually quite lucrative. So there's
Yeah.
always an opportunity for somebody to take up the slack on bad customer service.
Exactly. And if you look at what does the customer want, they want solutions, and most of them will pay for it. And the ones that don't pay for it are the customers you don't want. Give them to someone else. If they don't appreciate what you're doing, even if you
I'm not saying they paid for our services every time.
Well, they have to pay. It's a business.
Yes.
They have to pay. So when we would get problems, or the people say, okay, I need this proposal for, when can you get me the proposal? We're desperate. We need the proposal. When can you get it to me? All right, and you're thinking, right, I can probably get it done by Tuesday. And they go, we need it today, and it's Monday. I need it today. I said, look, can't get it to Monday. I said, but we can probably get it to you Thursday. All right. Well, God, can we not have it sooner? We'll do our best, but it's Thursday. Okay, so they want it Monday. They probably need it Friday. You've promised them. You think you can do it Tuesday. You've promised it Thursday. You deliver it on Wednesday. You're a day ahead. And if you do that continually, you get a reputation for reliability. So under-promise and over-deliver. It's not difficult.
And that's going to help your brand.
And it's going to help your brand. And the key difficulty is convincing yourself not to go and do your best to help the client by committing to times that you risk not delivering. They don't need it till the Friday, invariably. If they say, look, I need it money because, and it's this and it's that, and they say, okay, well, let me see what we can do. And then you put a surcharge on. Okay, well, if we're doing extra, well, in order to do that, I'm going to have to bump these jobs, and I have to bring Tommy in to do overtime, so we'll have to put 10%. Yeah, we don't care, just do it, fine. And then get the purchase order in writing and all the stuff like that. So the devil's in the detail.
I think a massive turn-off for me in business is people that just wholly expect unrealistic deadlines, and they adopt that as their management style.
Yeah.
So let's put a deadline in that's wholly unachievable.
Yeah.
They don't care the process that it needs to take, and then they wonder why it all goes wrong.
So clients don't care about your business. Other people don't care about your business. It was a real watershed for me when I understood this. Someone told me no one cares about Merlin. They don't care. They care about their problem today. They care about getting their thing done. They don't care that you've won a Queen's Award. They don't care about your pool car. They don't care about the bonus. They don't care about that. They might moan about something, or they might comment on something. They might be impressed with something. They don't care about your business. They care about their problem today. So if you can engage with them on an emotional level, and that's not cuddles and kisses, that's making them feel happy or content or not worried and fearful about they haven't got what they need to do. So if you can deliver that sort of confidence, that on an emotional level, that's huge. And if you get a reputation for always delivering on that's great. And you never know what's going through there. You don't know if their boss has been nipping at them, if they've just stuffed up the last 3 reports they've done, if they're over budget and stuff like that. So they might be shouting down the phone or angry or misbehaving or stuff, but they're maybe just having a bad day. And it may be that you endure that, and then a couple of days later, they'll come on and go, I'm really sorry about that the other day. And you say, hey, it's okay, we're all human. Everybody has off days. So look, we're here to help. We're here to make your life.
But you're in the thick-skinned minority, and a lot of people would take that one day and take that as the default setting, or that person is unreasonable or difficult to work with, or stuff like that.
So people have certain areas that their skill set suits and their personality suits, and if you've got them working in an area that doesn't suit them, you're not doing them, you, or the business a favour.
Okay.
So if you need to be in a position where they're thick skin because they're going to get lots of grieving customers, get the right person in there, and if you've got the wrong person, move them until you get them in the right place.
When you were allowed to pursue the journey of growth in the business,
Yep.
from Debbie,
Yep.
how many hours a week does that does the growth pattern
Oh,
take?
yeah. If you want a 35-hour week, don't start up as an entrepreneur for high growth. I am, but I'd always worked long hours. So the drilling industry starts early. People are in the office. They're often in the office at 6. That wasn't me, especially in the early days. But I would, if I woke up, I'd go to work. So I'd walk in the summer in Scotland, 5:30 in the morning, fantastic. No one about, beautiful sunshine, walk through to work, And then I would try and quit early, or I would try and take a lunch, or adjust it. So there's no point in spending your life at work unless that's really what you love. But we had, it's not a 40-hour week, and so the hours, I would say, you're a 60-hour week. Because there's so many little bits at night that you don't, I'll just do email for half an hour, or you'll end up doing a report, or you'll do something at the weekend. And and that's hard on the family. You've got to make that up to them and stuff, because you don't get that time back. And so it's a balance, it really is. But what we would do is, I noticed when I stepped back and stopped travelling, or didn't do as much travel, that things would back up far quicker, and I had a smaller volume of things to do, and I was thinking, that's strange. And what would happen is, whenever I was travelling, I would work on the plane. I'd work in the lounge, I'd work in the plane, I'd do phone calls in the car on the way to the airport, hands-free, of course. Mm-hmm. And you would get through just a huge amount of work. And again, helping the people at the business on the journey. Our engineers travel business class, all travel business class, because they need to be ready to work. They could be flying around the world. They need to get off the plane, get their gear, and then get to do the client job. And they need to be in a condition-ready work. And if you travel economy, long haul, say you're travelling 19 hours or 12 hours or whatever, it's a bit tougher to recover. So they all travel business class, and we do that. And I would point out to them, when they're not in business class to eat the meal and watch the films, because the client is paying for that business class, and the client is paying for them to travel. So they are at work. The factor in an airplane doesn't matter. The factor in the lounge doesn't matter. Get your laptop out and do it. And you would try and help people with little examples, so that they would, if they were doing it, they would think, this isn't the right thing to do. So I would say, get your expenses done on the flight when you're travelling. I say, if you come back to the office and you're doing your expenses, we're not charging for that. So you're not bringing money in. So how are you going to get paid? So when you're bigger and you've got more engineers, you've got the balance coming in. But when there's only one or two of you, you're working to billable hours all the time. It's billable hours.
So it's a culture that you're creating then.
Yeah, but it's got to be enjoyable. There's no point in working all hours and it not being for you. And you have to reward that as well. So the people that are delivering and bringing in a lot more billable hours, you have to recognise that. They have to be getting that. If other people are doing things and perhaps not putting in the same effort or not getting the same results, then it's not fair on the other people getting in. And you can have a lot of discussions and arguments, and again, if you can get that out ahead of the time and measure it so that people can see visibly who's doing what in billable hours. Now, there are things like building the company, recruiting, other marketing bits that aren't billable, so they're really important and valuable. But when you're a startup, you just live and die on billable hours.
People love to compare themselves to other people as well.
Yeah.
So when you were monitoring billable hours, was that there for everyone to see, or was that?
Oh yeah. Well, no, we'd publish it. We'd publish it billable hours,
right?
And we'd have it, and we'd also publish the phone bill, each person's mobile bill. So what you're doing is you're trying to control expenses. So you publish it, and people need to make phone calls. But actually, we want them to be considerate where they're spending the money. So I would always be first. I would always be top on the phone bill, sort of thing. I'd come in and there's no qualms there. But everybody would get to see what each person was spending on their mobile phone. Because in those days, mobile phones were very expensive. These days, it's less of an issue. But the billable hours thing, we know it's a great motivator, because then, going and working on the rig is less fun than being in the office or going visiting clients in Australia or New Zealand or some of the nice places to be. So I don't want to go to the rig job. But actually on a rig, you build 12 hours a day, so you can get your billable hours rating up. So I remember it worked with me. I was looking at going, if I do that rig job, I'll get my billable hours up. So you're actually driving the right behaviours. And one of my friends, he would always have just a phenomenal amount of billable hours. Great engineer. I've got no idea how he did it. Great engineer, no distractions. Didn't drink, but was still interesting. And he would always have. So you were always coming second to Russell. Russell's just a phenomenal, great guy. And so it's good, So you do measure off your peers, and that's a key metric for the business, especially at small. So if you can identify your key metrics and then put in place systems or processes or targets or however it is that people are driving themselves, then it makes it easier.
If you're supporting other businesses which are and also developing themselves, and they've got the potential to their business is changed by hitting the right well, or do you put more pressure on yourself to help the client, or do you have enough pressure on you just operating the business on your own?
I don't think you put more pressure. I think what you do is you understand that this is really, really important for them. So you're going to put extra effort to make sure that you've done your job. So you might check things again. You're going to, one does, one checks. You'll do your engineering, someone will check it, whatever. But if it's really, really okay, let's make sure we've got that, because if we get this wrong, it's not just we're waiting for the next bus. It's the journey stops.
It sounds like you're micromanaging the process there.
No, not in that instance. I think what you're doing is you're making sure the people have checked it. If it's you that's doing it, you're doing it. If there are other engineers to check. So I'll give you an example. We were drilling a critical section in a world record well for a company in Australia. And the engineering was good, we involved the guys in the train, they knew what they were doing, but we still kept an eye on it from before. So it's not so much micromanaging as supporting. So I got up in the middle of the night because I knew this was a critical section. So I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm logged onto the computer and I'm watching the parameters on this drill. And the parameters were outside the programmed values where they should be. And these were things that can control. So I phoned the rig and I said, and I said, hey there, just the kids woke me up. And as you know, I run my computer, I leave the computer running, and I just happened to notice this parameter's down. I said, is the sensor wrong? Is there any reason? What's that? And the guy on the other, he's going, whoa, and he's immediately on the drill floor, driller, pick up, and they got that fixed. So that's support. Micromanaging would be getting involved and telling them what to do rather than asking them, what are you doing next? And sometimes if you have very, very junior staff, maybe someone's sick and someone else is standing, they need supported and they need real wraparound support. And they might not appreciate it, but they need that until they've done their own thing. And what you've got to do is give them enough space where if they fall, they don't hurt themselves or the organisation. And that's really, really tough as a manager. And sometimes you're going to micromanage because the people haven't got the skills, and then you need to move the people. So if you're doing that, is it you or is it the people? Because it goes both ways.
The journey of Merlin just sounds like it was an absolute love story. It must have been sunshine and rainbows every day if you're doing this continual growth pattern. Every day, ice cream, lattes, chocolate biscuit, feet on the desk. No, it was tough, and you're looking back on it, it's great. It was tough, you're away long hours. We had a downturn and we made losses for months on end, and we had to give people notice that their job was potentially at risk and stuff, because you have to follow all the legalities, and that was hugely unpleasant, but a lot better than just arriving at, okay, we're bust and liquidated and the doors are locked and when you're not being paid this month, So no, that was really, really tough. But we got through it, and there were some really, really difficult conversations. But when you're the leader,
You know, people are looking for you for inspiration, so you've got to be measured, honest, but positive. So we did have it. Downturn was 2015, something around there. Yeah, 14 and 15, oil price crashed. And it would take me a minute.
What type of turnover were you doing at that time? Like,
I think we'd just, the previous year in 14, we turned over 4.2.
So how many staff did you have?
About 20.
Okay.
Maybe 30. You know, so staff, we had about half staff, half consultants.
Okay. Yeah. So there was a lot of mouths to feed.
Oh yeah. You know, you're responsible for them feeding their families. You know, that's a huge thing. You know, it's not just the business. Oh yeah, these people are feeding their families off the income the business makes. If the business isn't making any income and has finite reserves, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgages or feed their families. You know,
it's going to be frustrating for you because you have zero input in the price of oil and what's happening in the market.
Yeah, but we were founded in a downturn. So we founded the business in a downturn and we grew. So we talked there a little while about oil companies and you know, and I was maybe a little bit unfair to say the complacency. As an entrepreneur, when you're running a business, look at your addressable market. So how much money in the whole world will what you do, what's the market in the whole world? Not the bit you've got, but the whole market. And if the market's huge, it should be easier to get a bit of that. So the market and what we were doing was just absolutely colossal, billions and billions of dollars. And so for us to carve out a little niche was easy. And we were able to go in and be quite sharp on our costs as a new entrant as well. And then if we deliver the quality of service we promise, then we can win business. So although there's less business in a downturn, people are looking to save costs. They're looking to avoid very expensive problems. So your message becomes spend $1 to save 10 or spend $1 to ensure you don't spend 10. And that's a slightly harder sell, but they're open. The client are open to it. You just pitch it the right way. You know.
And is it that skill set that you developed then that helped you weather the downturn storm?
Oh, I'm not sure I ever developed this skill set. We were winging it all the way.
Really?
All the way, taking advice. What do I do now? You know, and other successful businesses are the same. You know, so one of my mentors told a story where he went to they were in a downturn, and he goes, "Oh God, what are we going to do this?" And he had a big business that he was leading, and he goes, "What do I do now?" He says, "Oh, go house builders, the housing industry, building industry, cyclic." And he was good friends with a very major house builder. So he went to see him and said, "Look," he said, "When I down to what I do? Sit down. We get this every so many years. This is what to do." And you know, those bits, you'll get tips and tricks. And we took advice from others. What do we do? You got to be on your numbers. Your numbers have got to be accurate because you're going to base decisions on what numbers you've got. You know, what money have you got? What income have you got? What debt have you got? What are the payment terms? Have you got any bad debts? Are people late paying? You know, and you can't do all that yourself. You've got to have people, so you've got to have people you trust to provide the numbers, and you can question it to make sure you do trust the numbers. You know, but that's going to help you on the way through.
It must be a personal roller coaster as well, though. If there's bumps in the road and you're working all these hours, and I'm assuming in the downturn you've still got contracts that you're working on.
Yep.
You need to keep morale and staff pointing in the right direction.
Yep.
As well as how did you manage to cope with the personal side of it?
Got to look after yourself. Exercise, eat well, don't drink too much. If you're in a period of a high stress period, and you're going to get it, especially if you've got a high growth business, look after yourself, because if you fail and end up in the funny farm for a couple of weeks or stuff, or just incapacitated, maybe a politer way to say these days, and it's a very, very real risk, you know, your mental health. So exercise, eat well, don't drink too much, share your problems and challenges with people, go to the pub with friends, don't drink too much, but you know, it's a balance. Really, really important, because the business and the people deserve it, you know. And for the roller coaster, it has been a roller coaster. There's emotional times, you know, I've had sleepless nights. I would say that the most uncomfortable times are when we were releasing staff, because there was no longer a place for them in the business for whatever reason. And I spoke to my dad. My dad's been a huge help on this, and so is my father-in-law, and parents and parents-in-law in general. Just our support we've had has been phenomenal. And I spoke to my dad about we're having a real issue, and I said, look, Dan, he said, how are you getting on? And I said, well, I'm struggling a little bit, we've got an issue here. I said, we're going to release this person, and he goes, yeah, he says, look, it's hard. It's really hard when you're releasing someone. And you're firing them. You're firing. And he says, and so it should be. He says, because what you're doing is you're removing their ability to feed their family. He says, so that's not something that should be done lightly. And I think a few sleepless nights, that's only a fair price, I think. If you're running a business, that's what. So people look at flash cars, flash holidays, nice home, it's talking at great business events, and they don't look at the nights of anguish when you've got someone that you've done everything you can, you think you've done everything you can from. Perhaps they believe they should still be at the business, so perhaps they're not going willingly, and then you go and move them on. However, as the business leader, everyone else in the business knows how that person's performing, and they're looking to you to see what you do, so you have to do the right thing, and your loyalty is to the business, and do it compassionately, and do it and be generous if you can with the business and stuff. And those are the sort of most challenging anguish moments. But the best moments, people ask me what are the best things, it's watching people grow. It's giving them the opportunity to do things that they didn't think they were capable of, and watching them grow and flourish and become a bigger, more capable individual and things. And we gave some people chances like that, and that's what I take of that. So it's not the bonuses. I think when we were talking before, I told a story about one staff member when we went into employee ownership, and we'll get to, came up and thanked me. And you don't get much of this as the boss. You're partitioned from it. You get lots of the grief but you don't get the little things like this. And this person had the courage to come up and say, I really thank you for putting the business into employee ownership, because myself and my partner, with the extra money that employee ownership has given us, we've been able to get a deposit for a house that we would never, and this lady would have been in her 40s, never have been able to do. And that was good. I don't think I had a cry about that, but I did. It was very emotional. So it's and that's great. And that's because you're looking after the pennies and the pence. You're driving people to do the work on the plane, to manage their billable hours, so the business is a success.
To make the tough decisions.
And it allows people allows those opportunities.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's a great. That's a great testament.
Yeah.
To how you exited the business, and I'm sure you were skipping out the office that day after hearing that, because it's really powerful, isn't it?
That's stuck with me a long time. We've got another couple of examples of things that that's good. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a little bit of a loaded question here, because I know the answer. Are you motivated?
I love all things mechanical, and fast cars, airplanes. We sponsored the Bloodhound land speed record, so we were just a tiny little sponsor, but we still sponsored. And it's the STEM, science, technology, engineering, maths, promoting for the next generation. And that is a phenomenal UK project. It's sort of stalled at the moment, waiting for money, but that's a car to do 1,000 miles an hour. It's just incredible. Just the science and engineering involved is phenomenal. So
you have the Spitfire in your arsenal,
not
at your home garage, but you've got that sited locally. What's your car lineup been like over the years?
So my favourite car that I have back will come to at the end, right?
Right.
So car lineup, it's been whatever I could afford, So as a student and things, and then as an engineer in the oil industry, we got a little bit further ahead, and I got myself an M3 BMW convertible, which was phenomenal. And then and then I took it on a track day. So my wife Debbie worked to the motor industry, and she got me a track day for my birthday. So I went down to Thruxton, and so we drove various cars, and I got to take the M3 on the track. Mm-hmm. And we're driving around, and Kate Moss was test driving a Ferrari. We overtook Kate Moss, and then I spun off. And as we spun off, all that was going through my head was, I hope the guy serviced the roll bars. And then it stalled, and the guy, the driver that was with me, goes, right, he says, start up. We say, we'll go and do another couple of laps. He says, well, we're going to finish, but he says, we can't finish on that. And I sold the car immediately after, because when I saw what it could do on the track, I thought, this is just absolutely wasted on the road. And I had a Saab convertible in London. It's phenomenal, beautiful, in 96, 97. And I had gone to buy the 900S, just the basic convertible, and it was a British Forces posted overseas guy who was doing it, a good deal and things, and he had a 900 turbo.
Okay.
And I was going to put new wheels on the 900S to make it look good and stuff. I had the turbo, it had the wheels, and I was thinking, oh, right, well, why not just get the one that's already got the wheels, that'll be extra. And I was spending 45 minutes each way on my commute in the car. That's a lot of your life. So I was thinking, well, if I'm spending that time when the journey goes well, and it's going to be more when it goes badly, I might as well be in something that I'm enjoying comfort. And it was great, phenomenal car. And it actually opened doors. It's interesting how materialist things, how things work with people. People are fascinating, really fascinating. But I got an in to the exploration manager at the company I was at because he had a Saab turbo convertible.
Right.
And he would come and talk cars with me. So then when I needed something from the exploration department, it was just easy, just really, really easy.
Sometimes it helps lower barriers.
It's incredible. And the people you meet, and they share a passion for cars, and it's people that you might need to speak to for business, you know, so there's an in, so the business, and then we leveraged the car. I've always loved Aston Martins, the British brand. They're phenomenal cars. They're really good, built on the engineering and the engine and the gearbox. You never buy them for their infotainment systems, you know, but just phenomenal. And I wanted one of those. I was really, really keen, and I eventually got myself a DB9 convertible, and I ran that for a little while. And then we had to sell it, or I sold it, because we needed money to invest in the company for growth. So I sold it, and the bank were going to charge me some ridiculous percentage, just nonsense. So again, you've got to look at the numbers. It was like just the loan, and the commercial loan, and the legal fees, and it was a short loan. It was just ridiculous. So I sold the Aston, and I got rid of that bank as well. And then we came back, and we got an Aston Martin as a pool car, and we branded it up.
I remember seeing this.
It's phenomenally successful. Just, you know, you never know if what you're doing is right, and you think, am I doing it because it's me? Is it really for the business? But it really worked, and we got, you know, so much free editorial, sort of, you know, advertorial, I think you call it, for the car and things, and clients would see it. And I think when we were chatting before, I talked about we went in to see, I went to see a client, and of course most of the engineers, they're all interested in cars, petrol heads, and that's our customer base. And they spent 10 minutes talking about the car. How's the car? What's happening with it? Oh, what's it like to drive? And stuff. Guys, it's amazing. It's really good, you know. And then I'm thinking, we need to talk work. I thought, I've got another appointment after this, and we need to get through the business sort of thing. So it was great. And I don't think anyone ever joined us because we had an Aston Martin pool car, but people probably heard about us because we did. And then it allowed engineers to consider us, because the biggest thing is, how do you get the people that are going to make a difference in your business when you're a startup? You're a nobody, you've done nothing, the name's not that well known. They're going to leave the security, supposed, perceived security of a large oil company or an oil company to come and work with a small consultancy in Perth.
Yeah.
No other jobs in Perth for drilling engineers. You know, if it goes wrong, they're trucking off back somewhere else. You know, so it's a big step for people. So I don't think they joined us because of the Aston, but it definitely worked in promoting us. And clients abroad, especially in the Middle East, they were all really interested in the Bloodhound and the Aston Martin pool car, and some of them very interested in the Queen's Award, because we've met the Queen, Her Majesty the Queen, Saudi especially, and the United Arab Emirates. They were all over that.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was the first four-door Aston Martin that I'd actually ever seen.
Yeah, so we had the Rapide, because we had a DB9, and then we sold that Rapide, and we could.
And
get
it had your logo on the side, and I immediately looked up who you were and what you did. So it certainly worked. Yeah,
so the logo on the side was black on black, so it was quite subtle, and we had the ice cream logo on the back, the colour bit on the back, and then everybody in the company got to drive it. It was available for everybody to drive, for business only, and it was a genuine pool car. We had various criteria. You couldn't take it home at night. You couldn't drive it for personal use. It was business use only, because if you did that, you would fall foul of the tax system, and you would be due to pay a significant amount of tax. And then the key thing, when you look again at risks, consequences, gains, some of the people driving had never driven a performance car. So we didn't want them either to injure themselves or kill themselves potentially, or the company asset, you know. So what we did is we did driver training. And actually, we'd always wanted to do driver training anyway, because it's the most dangerous thing we do. So if you want to look after your staff and personnel, give them the skills, make them aware on the driving training. So they all would do an advanced driver. Most people in the industry had done it anyway, but others got a chance, went out with an ex-police driver who was great. And you would put them through the paces, show them where to put the fuel, most importantly.
Yeah, sometimes in the Astons, that's not as obvious as you may think.
No, you can't find it. That's
you're
right.
YouTubing where you need to pull or push. And it's always when you're at the pump and there's a large queue behind you, you suddenly realise. Yep. Okay, well, I'm conscious that we need to keep one eye on time. I'm very impressed you have a Spitfire that you love to fly around, and I could totally see the association with the engine in that versus the engine in Aston and stuff. Just excellence of British engineering, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It's got an aura all of its own, and my one's a replica.
The brands are just they speak for themselves, don't they?
Yeah, and we built it to fly. It took 2 years to build, 2,000 man hours, cost of an expensive high performance car, and we picked the engine propeller combination for performance, and we used it unashamedly at every turn to promote the business. So we wanted them to think, oh yeah, we'll get these drones. Who's the one with the Spitfire? You know. So I took up the oil show in Aberdeen for many years in a row. I would go up and do a display in the morning, display in the afternoon. Didn't have to pay anything for a stand. Got lots of publicity, followed up on it, you know, and things. And that was really, really, really good. And then we'd take it to air shows and things as well. And we'd put it into conversation. And we'd bring clients down. We'd have tea and sausage rolls and things. Come and meet the Spitfire, we'll fly it for you and things. It's been phenomenal.
Okay, so you've arrived at the destination and you've put the Merlin into, or you've been instrumental in Merlin transitioning into employee ownership.
Yeah.
A lot of people would have just sold the business, Iain, to the highest bidder, particularly in your sector. What was the motivators for doing that?
You know, you've got to be proud of what you do, I think, and you've got to do the right thing, because, you know, that's going to live with you forever, you know, and so your value system, you know, what you do is, you know, that you're not going to get things right all the time, but you have that opportunity. If I'd sold it to the highest bidder, they'd have shut the business, and the jobs in Perth would be lost, and people would have been relocated to Houston or Paris or somewhere else. It would have gone from Perth.
Is that because they would buy the information that you have?
No, they'd buy the people in the brand and the engineers. And the engineers would go with them, some of them. Uh-huh. But the support staff wouldn't. They wouldn't take the support staff. I can honestly say that. So Schlumberger would have been the logical. I got offers from big companies, and it was more money. And you know, and then I would be someone that had created a company here in Perth, and jobs and prosperity, and then I just sold out. You know, and actually, it's more than that. So I was able to get enough money, putting it into employee ownership, and the tax benefits meant I could sell it for slightly less, because it's the net. So in business, always look at the net that you're getting. It doesn't matter if you get £10 million, you pay 80% tax, you get 2 million. If you can get 3 million and no percent tax, you're ahead. You know, so you might not make the headlines in the paper. Oh, the business wasn't sold for that much. Maybe they didn't do so. It doesn't matter. It's the net. So I wanted to do the right thing by the business, and I set conditions in the sale that the people that took it on could not sell it within 7 years without my okay, and that's to protect the staff there and give them the opportunity to capitalise the way that I had, you know, because the business is on a colossal growth trajectory. They can keep that going, and actually there's more of them than me, so they can do much, much better than I did. And potential, if they run it properly, could all retire as millionaires. How good is that? You know, the sector. What a great thing. And that would just make me so, so happy. And it's down to them, you know, when they're looking at where the success is, just like me, it's in the mirror. Who's responsible for the failures? It's in the mirror. Where the successes come from, the team. What do we need to do? It's in the mirror. So they're a great bunch, and they've got a great opportunity, and hopefully they'll take it the distance and exit and all gain from it.
So have you had any detachment issues since leaving the business?
Yeah, and not in the place that I thought they would, you know. So taking advice from people that have been through it before and things I managed all that really well. But there were some areas where they had a little bit of a glitch in a downturn and maybe a little bit more risk, in my view, than they needed had they run things slightly differently. But it's their company, you know, so I've got to sit back and I can offer advice if asked. You know, I can push advice, which at that point I was a non-exec director, so it's demanded of me to go and do it. And then when people do things differently, you just have to accept that. But it's painful when what you're predicting comes true and they suffer a greater down than up. But they've recovered from it. You know, they're a good team and they'll learn. So yeah. And it's very much, you know, you could worry yourself to death or get all excited, but it's change what you can, accept what you can, and learn to tell the difference. And it really is. And you've just got to repeat that to yourself. It's not my business anymore. It's, you know, it's their business. I've got a few shares in it, so I'm always interested to see how they're getting on. Here to help, so occasionally I'll give them advice or give them some tips and heard in the market. But it's theirs, you know. I'm doing some renewables things now, which is going really well.
So you're keeping yourself busy then?
Oh yeah, there's plenty to do. Yeah.
So I would like to wholeheartedly thank you for giving us this opportunity to film here today. It's really genuinely appreciated. Like I say, I'm conscious of time. I enjoy spending time with you. I've met you a few times now, and for me, in my journey, just talking to somebody like yourself gives me a lot of energy afterwards, and it makes me think about that kind of pyramid of knowledge, because the thing I find quite insightful about today's chat is you self-admittedly don't actually know all the answers, and you didn't during the way. It was people that supported and helped you. So I think it's very impressive what you've built, and I think you should be very proud of that, which I'm sure you are. But you're actually just a very nice person, because most people wouldn't have allowed us to come to your home today and do this.
I have the £50 here for you for that.
No, genuinely. We had a chat last week, and I think you could see that I was getting a little bit frustrated in some of the stuff I was doing. But you have a chat with somebody like yourself who has a lot more experience and knowledge, and then you maybe don't hone in on that 5% of something that you're doing really, really badly. You actually look at you kind of frame it differently and say, well, actually, you're doing 95% of things well. Can you fast track that knowledge and experience, or does it just come through time?
No, you can. You can fast track it. Take advice. Be hard on yourself in a positive way. What did I do right? But don't dwell on it. Make it happen. You know. So give it a go. Look at what are we doing here. How's it going to work? How do we make it work? Take the advice to give you the best things. Recognise the stuff you've done well, the stuff you've done better. Be hard on yourself, but not harsh. You know, not so that it's painful. But you know, if people have been so generous with their time with me, you know, and I am here in this position because of that, you know. So my mother was my bookkeeper when I was consulting. You know, oh my God, I can't imagine what it was like to work with my mother. You know, I'd be giving her grief about that, and she's brilliant. I would not be here. We would not have had that chance if she hadn't been my bookkeeper. And then everyone else, family, support from the wife. You're not going to do it unless your family is supportive, because there's everything I do has a role on affecting them. So take that advice, because business, there's no secrets to it. It's a process. It's just a process, and you're not cutting virgin track in the jungle like we all think we are. We're not. Everybody's been there before. There's a fairly standard path. In business, the old or grey hair business advisors will tell you they can pick exactly where you are, and they'll be able to pick the people that are going to make it. And it's the ones that are a little bit self-introspective to check what they're doing and seek and heed advice, and then the bits that they don't take that didn't work out, they'll fix. So no, if I can help people avoid some of the mistakes I made huge mistakes. But if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough, But don't do the ones. Don't lose the farm. Don't put the farm on 19 red. Well, if you want to put it on 19 red, but I wouldn't put the farm on 19 red.
Iain, thank you for your time today.
All right, great.
Genuinely, really appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you in the future.
Okay, it's been a pleasure.